Imagine if the massive fortress that is the Bitcoin network could, not only secure its own treasure, but also act as a vault for other valuable decentralized projects.
Hmm.
What if Bitcoin's immense power could be channeled to provide a bedrock of security and liquidity for a whole new generation of blockchains?
Yeah, that's a really interesting thought.
That's the intriguing possibility we're diving into today as we unpack the Babylon Protocol.
Absolutely. And we've got a rich set of sources here detailing Babylon's, well, pretty ambitious vision to really unleash Bitcoin's potential beyond its current primary uses, like just holding or trading.
Right.
Our mission in this deep dive is to sort of move beyond the technical jargon, and clearly understand exactly how Babylon aims to achieve this. We'll explore its core mechanisms, the role of its BB token, the roadmap ahead.
Okay, so let's get right to it then. What exactly is Babylon at its heart?
Okay. At its core, Babylon is a trustless protocol, and it opens up a fascinating opportunity for Bitcoin holders. It allows them to stake their Bitcoin. And this staked Bitcoin then provides a powerful layer of security and also valuable liquidity to what they call Bitcoin secured networks, or BSNs.
BSNs, Bitcoin Secured Networks. Okay, so what are those exactly, like other blockchains?
Yeah, think of them as other blockchains or maybe decentralized applications that can essentially rent Bitcoin security. They leverage staked Bitcoin through the Babylon protocol. This could be anything from, say, new layer ones to specific DeFi apps.
Okay.
And here's where it gets really interesting for Bitcoin holders. In return for staking their BTC, they have the potential to earn validation rewards from these Bitcoin-secured networks.
So it's about putting your Bitcoin to work in a completely new way, actively contributing to the security of other networks and earning something for it instead of just holding it passively.
Precisely, you got it. And the very first of these Bitcoin-secured networks is Babylon Genesis.
Babylon Genesis. Go.
Yeah, you can think of Babylon Genesis as like the initial launch pad for this whole ecosystem.
Yeah.
It directly harnesses Bitcoin's substantial crypto economic security right from the get-go.
And Babylon Genesis isn't just about providing security, right? I think I read it has a dual function.
That's right. Good point. It operates as a control plane, essentially coordinating with other BSNs to make sure they can efficiently get that Bitcoin-based security and liquidity, without too much integration hassle.
Right. Makes sense.
But it also functions as a liquidity hub. It actively manages Bitcoin liquidity through on-chain applications that are themselves secured by Babylon Genesis.
Okay, let me see if I've got this straight.
Yeah.
Bitcoin provides the foundational security.
Yep.
And Babylon Genesis is the first network built on this idea.
Mm-hmm.
And it acts as both an orchestrator for that security and a central place where this staked Bitcoin can be actively used.
Exactly.
Now, to make this all function, there's the baby token. What's its role in this whole system?
Right, baby. It's the native token of Babylon Genesis, and it's designed to be absolutely central to how the entire ecosystem operates. It has several crucial utilities.
Like what?
Well, first and foremost, it serves as the gas token for Babylon Genesis.
Okay, standard stuff. Transaction fees.
Exactly. It's the currency used to pay for transaction fees and the execution of smart contracts on the network, which is pretty essential for its functions as both that control plane and the liquidity hub.
Makes perfect sense. Every functional blockchain needs a native token for gas. What other roles does Baby play?
It also serves as the governance token.
Oh, okay. Community control.
Yeah. Holders of Baby and also the validators they choose to delegate their tokens to, they have the power to vote on proposed protocol changes and network upgrades. This ensures the community has a direct say in, the future evolution and direction of the project.
Decentralized governance is definitely key in this space, empowering the community. But I also noticed that Baby itself is involved in staking somehow.
Yes, that's another important piece. Babylon Genesis employs a pretty clever dual staking model.
Dual staking?
Yeah. So not only do the Bitcoin stakers, the ones securing the network with their BTC, contribute to the network's robustness, but Baby stakers also play a vital role.
Interesting.
And the interesting alignment here is that both groups, those staking Bitcoin and those staking Baby, they receive Baby rewards.
Ah, okay. So rewards in Baby for both.
Exactly. This mechanism helps to align the incentives of different participants, fostering a more resilient and decentralized Bitcoin-secured network.
Okay, so Baby is the essential fuel for the network, gives a voice in its governance, and is also integral to its security through this dual staking thing.
Got it.
Now let's peek under the hood a bit. What's the core technical engine driving Babylon Genesis?
Well, what's fascinating here is the underlying consensus mechanism. Babylon Genesis uses a proof-of-stake system built on the Comet BFT stack.
Comet BFT, I've heard of that. Solid tech, right?
Right. Yeah, exactly. It's a highly regarded consensus engine known for its resilience and speed. It provides a strong foundation for their POS system. But the truly unique aspect is the integration of Bitcoin staking as a modular finality gadget.
A finality gadget. Okay, that sounds like a key piece of innovation. Can you break that down? What does that mean practically?
Think of it as an added layer of security. It provides even greater assurance that transactions are irreversible, truly final.
Right.
Babylon Genesis employs what they term dual quorum staking. This involves a set of, I think, 100 traditional Comet BFT validators operating the standard proof-of-stake consensus.
Okay, 100 PS is validated.
Yep. And alongside them are 60 Bitcoin-staked finality providers.
60, okay.
So for a block to be considered truly finalized, meaning it's extremely unlikely to ever be reversed, it needs to get finality votes from both the Comet BFT validators and the Bitcoin-staked finality providers.
Wow, okay, so both groups need to agree.
Exactly. So the ingenious insight here is that Babylon can tap into Bitcoin's immense security without requiring any changes to the Bitcoin network itself. That's a fundamental breakthrough, really.
So it's like requiring two separate confirmations for every block, one from the traditional POS validators and another powered by staked Bitcoin. That's a really innovative way to leverage Bitcoin's immutability without directly messing with its blockchain.
Precisely.
And you mentioned an on-chain governance system as well, built on Cosmos SDK.
Yes, the entire governance framework for Babylon Genesis is built using the Cosmos SDK governance module. Building on the Cosmos SDK gives Babylon access to a well-established framework for building interoperable blockchains, including their sophisticated governance module.
Right, makes sense to use existing tools.
Yeah, this allows baby token holders and their delegated validators to propose, vote on, and ultimately implement modifications to the network in a completely transparent and decentralized way. The whole system is designed to be auditable and driven by the community.
Now, let's get a snapshot of the current landscape. We have some key metrics and tokenomics data from around April 2025. What are the essential figures we should keep in mind?
Okay, metrics. As of April 2025, the native token is, of course, BBBay. And as we mentioned, it's a Cosmos SDK-based token, placing it within that, growing ecosystem of interconnected blockchains.
Okay.
The initial circulating supply when it was listed on Binance was approximately 2.29 billion BB tokens.
Almost 2.3 billion circulating at launch.
Yeah, the total token supply is just over 10 billion.
10 billion total.
Right. However, it's important to note that the maximum supply is currently set to infinity.
Infinity. Oh, interesting. So inflationary.
Yeah, with an initial inflation rate of 8%. But this inflation rate is subject to adjustments through governance votes by the community.
Okay, so the token supply isn't strictly capped, but the rated increases can be controlled by the token holders themselves through voting. What about funding? How much did they raise, and how were the initial tokens distributed?
Good question. The project successfully raised around $96 million USD through private fundraising rounds.
A 96 million, that's substantial.
It is. And it's worth noting that these valuations were based on equity in the project, not directly on the token's market price at the time.
Right. Equity, not token price. Important distinction.
Definitely.
Right.
In terms of initial distribution, Binance launched a HO dealer airdrop of 75 million baby tokens starting on April 10th, 2025.
The Binance airdrop.
Yeah, that initiative helps to get the token into the hands of a broader range of users right from the start.
Significant funding and a wide-reaching airdrop to kick off distribution. Okay, now let's zoom back out to the bigger picture, the core value proposition of Babylon. Why is this project significant? Why should someone in the decentralized space pay attention?
Okay, the fundamental value proposition, it really boils down to this. Babylon offers a trustless way for Bitcoin holders to lend the security and liquidity of their Bitcoin to other blockchain networks, those BSNs we talked about, and in return, earn rewards. This unlocks entirely new potential use cases for Bitcoin beyond its traditional role as, just a store of value.
So it's about activating all that currently sort of dormant Bitcoin capital, allowing it to contribute to the growth and security of the wider decentralized web?
Exactly. That's a great way to put it. And a crucial highlight here is the creation of what they call Bitcoin liquidity primitives directly on Babylon Genesis.
Liquidity primitives, what does that mean?
Instead of relying on bridges to move Bitcoin between blockchains, which, let's be honest, have historically been vulnerable points.
Yeah, bridge hacks are notorious.
Right. So Babylon aims to create fundamental building blocks within its Bitcoin secured environment that allow staked Bitcoin to be actively used in DeFi activities.
Mhm.
Think of it like creating native Bitcoin-backed lending or trading tools, but running on Babylon Genesis.
Ah, okay. So DeFi using Bitcoin, but without needing those potentially risky cross-chain bridges as much.
Exactly. It offers a potentially more robust and secure way for Bitcoin liquidity to be deployed in DeFi.
And it seems like this concept is already gaining some traction. The numbers from their phase 1 looked pretty remarkable.
They are indeed. Since the launch of their Phase 1 mainnet back in August 2024, the protocol has seen over 57,000 Bitcoins staked.
57,000 Bitcoin. Wow.
Yeah, that's a substantial commitment of capital. And it involved more than 140,000 individual stakers.
Over 140,000 stakers already.
Right. This clearly demonstrates a significant appetite among Bitcoin holders for this type of functionality. People want to do more with their Bitcoin.
That level of engagement right from the start is definitely a strong indicator of interest. It's not just individual users staking, right? There's a whole ecosystem of projects starting to build around this.
Absolutely. They've seen a rapidly growing ecosystem of integrating projects. This includes liquid staking protocols.
Like Lido or Rocket Pool, but for Bitcoin on Babylon.
Kind of, yeah. Enabling users to maintain liquidity even while their Bitcoin is staked. Then there are various wallet and custodian services, making it easier for users and institutions to participate.
Important for accessibility.
Definitely. Plus numerous Layer 1 and Layer 2 blockchains that have aspirations of becoming Bitcoin-secured networks themselves. And of course, the crucial finality providers who are essential for that dual-quorum security model we discussed earlier.
So Babylon Genesis isn't meant to be just a standalone thing, but more like a central hub, connecting Bitcoin security and liquidity to a whole bunch of different decentralized apps and networks.
Exactly.
And it itself functions as a Layer 1 blockchain, bringing these enhanced security features.
Precisely. It's positioned as a fully functional Layer 1 with a significantly enhanced security profile derived directly from Bitcoin, while also serving as that vital control plane and liquidity hub for the broader ecosystem of BSNs.
Now let's delve into the journey so far and what the future holds. Babylon laid out a multi-phased rollout plan. Can you guide us through the key stages?
Sure. So Phase 1, which wrapped up in August 2024, was primarily focused on bootstrapping the supply side, getting Bitcoin holders to actually stake their assets.
And we saw the numbers. Over 57,000 BTC staked. So successful start.
Yeah, achieved considerable success in that initial phase.
And Phase 2 is a major milestone, the launch of Babylon Genesis itself, right? That just happened recently.
Yes, Phase 2 went live around April 2025. This marked the launch of the Babylon Genesis mainnet with its core functionalities.
What kind of functionality?
These include a decentralized exchange, or DEX, for trading assets within the ecosystem.
Okay, basic DeFi building block.
Right. Also, restaking capabilities, allowing users to potentially earn additional yield on staked assets, a secure vault for asset management, and the ability to mint liquid staking tokens, or LSTs, representing their staked Bitcoin.
BTC LSTs.
Yeah. And this is a pivotal stage where BTC LST holders can bridge their tokens over to Genesis and start participating in what they're calling BTCFi Bitcoin-based decentralized finance, all while benefiting from that underlying Bitcoin security.
So Phase 2 is where the foundational infrastructure comes online, letting users actually interact with the platform and its core DeFi offerings.
Right.
What's the focus for Phase 3?
Phase 3, which is slated to begin in Q3 2025 and continue beyond, is centered on expanding the demand side of the ecosystem.
Bringing in the users and applications for all that staked Bitcoin.
Exactly. This primarily involves actively onboarding other Bitcoin-secured networks, truly realizing the vision of Babylon as a central hub for Bitcoin-secured applications.
Okay.
A key technical development plan for this phase is the integration of EVM compatibility.
EVM, Ethereum Virtual Machine, that's huge.
It is. It's crucial for attracting a wider range of decentralized applications, as so many popular DeFi projects are built using Ethereum's tools. It will significantly enhance the liquidity and utility of those BTC LSTs.
Opens the door to a lot more developers and projects.
Definitely. The expectation is that we'll see independent projects deploying a wide variety of DeFi solutions on Genesis, things like additional DXs, maybe some Bitcoin-backed lending protocols, restaking services, various incentive markets, the whole works.
It sounds as Phase 3 is when the network effects could really start to kick in, with other projects building on the secure foundation provided by Babylon Genesis. Looking at the more immediate roadmap, say Q2 through Q4 of 2025, what are the key milestones we should be watching for?
Okay, roadmap. In Q2 2025, the headline event is undoubtedly the launch of Babylon Genesis itself, as we just discussed.
Right, the main launch.
Yeah, this includes activating Bitcoin staking to directly secure the Genesis chain. We'll also see the initial rollout of those core DeFi functionalities, the DEX, restaking, the vault, LST minting.
Getting the basics up and running.
Exactly. And crucially, the ability to bridge BTC LSTs over to Genesis opens the door for participation in those BTC IVI activities.
So Q2 is all about establishing the core platform and enabling that initial user interaction.
Right.
What are the key objectives for Q3?
Q3 2025 is heavily focused on significant ecosystem growth. This involves actively working to onboard those other Bitcoin-secured networks that will leverage Babylon's security.
Bringing more BSNs online.
Right. And the integration of EVM compatibility will be a major technical undertaking during this period, with the goal of boosting liquidity for BTC LSTs by making them accessible to a much broader range of applications.
Right, connecting to the EVM world.
We should also anticipate seeing independent development teams starting to deploy their own DeFi applications on Genesis, more specialized DXs, lending platforms, things like that.
And finally, what are the major milestones planned for Q4 2025?
Q4 aims to further strengthen the trustless nature of the entire system. Key milestones include launching a trust-minimized bridge directly between Bitcoin itself and Babylon Genesis.
A direct, more secure bridge. That's important.
Very important. They also plan to introduce trustless BTC LST creation, which would give users even greater control over their underlying Bitcoin while still allowing them to access liquidity on Babylon Genesis.
More user control, less trust needed. Good.
And finally, the introduction of shared Bitcoin bridge is planned. This is designed to offer trust-minimized liquidity to the broader Babylon ecosystem of all the BSNs.
It's a clear and ambitious progression. Start with securing a foundation, launch the core platform, then strategically expand its reach and the level of trustlessness within the system. Makes sense.
Now, Babylon isn't operating in a vacuum. They've established some pretty significant partnerships and integrations. Who are some of the key players collaborating with them?
Yeah, there are several noteworthy integrations and strategic partnerships. Osmosis, for example.
The big Cosmos DX.
Exactly. A leading decentralized exchange within the Cosmos ecosystem. They're integrating Babylon to become a Bitcoin-secured network.
Interesting.
And what's particularly interesting about this partnership is that a portion of the trading keys generated from Bitcoin LSTs and other Babylon ecosystem assets on Osmosis will be directly shared with BTC and BB stakers.
Ah, so direct revenue sharing back to the stakers. Yeah, creating a powerful incentive for participation and really aligning the success of both platforms. It's not just about connecting to a large platform, it strategically links Babylon's Bitcoin-secured assets with a thriving DeFi ecosystem within Cosmos, creating immediate utility and cross-chain liquidity flows. Pretty smart move to bootstrap adoption.
That's a strong and strategically valuable connection to an already established DeFi hub. Who else is involved?
TowerDex is another key partner. It's an independent DEX specifically designed for BTC-Fi.
Focused just on Bitcoin DeFi.
Yeah, and they're launching directly on top of Babylon Genesis right from day one. Their primary focus will be on providing a seamless trading experience for Bitcoin LSTs and also LRT's liquid restaking tokens, as well as other tokens within the broader Babylon ecosystem.
So a dedicated trading platform for this emerging class of Bitcoin-derived assets. Makes sense? What about institutional involvement? That's always a big question.
Good point. On the institutional front, Anchorage Digital and Hex Trust.
Reputable custodians.
Exactly. Both regulated crypto platforms offering custodial services. They've partnered with Babylon to provide secure custodial solutions for Babylon Bitcoin staking.
Okay.
This is a crucial step towards attracting institutional capital into the ecosystem, as it allows larger players to participate in a compliant and secure way.
That's definitely a significant move towards broader adoption by institutions. And also saw Binance mentioned in your sources again.
Yes, Binance, the world's largest crypto exchange, has integrated directly with the Babylon BTC staking protocol.
Wow, direct integration.
Yeah, and they've launched the first on-chain staking product supported by their Binance On-Chain Yields program.
Okay.
The integration with Binance is just a massive win for accessibility, right? It puts Babylon's Bitcoin staking directly in front of millions of users, significantly lowers the barrier to entry, and could drive substantial adoption.
Having Binance on board provides immense visibility and ease of access for a huge user base.
Okay.
No doubt. And lastly, what's the role of SAT layer? I saw that name.
SAT Layers is building directly on Babylon Genesis to enable what they call programmable Bitcoin restaking.
Programmable restaking.
Yeah. They're deploying their functionalities as smart contracts on Genesis, which will allow for more advanced and customizable slashing conditions for staked Bitcoin. This has the potential to unlock even greater capital efficiency and security within the ecosystem.
Okay, so adding more flexibility and control over the staked Bitcoin's conditions, it's a really diverse and impressive range of partners, honestly, spanning established DeFi platforms, institutional-grade custodians, major exchanges. Clearly indicates broad interest and significant support for Babylon's vision.
It does seem that way, yeah.
Now, as with any ambitious and innovative project, it's important to consider the potential risks and challenges. What are some of the downsides or hurdles that Babylon might face?
Right, risks. Okay. One primary risk for Bitcoin stakers within the Babylon ecosystem is the potential for slashing.
Slashing. Losing some staked funds.
Potentially, yeah. This could occur if a delegated finality provider engages in malicious activity, specifically double signing blocks.
Okay, the provider messes up or acts badly.
Exactly. However, it's crucial to understand that even if the Babylon Genesis chain itself gets compromised somehow,
Which would be bad.
very bad, but even then, the underlying staked Bitcoin remains secure as long as the finality provider doesn't engage in that specific double signing behavior.
Ah. Okay, so the risk is more about potential loss of rewards or a portion due to provider failure rather than losing the principal Bitcoin itself unless the provider double signs.
Correct. It's tied more to the actions of the chosen provider.
Got it. So the risk is more focused on the performance and integrity of the delegated provider. What about the risks for those staking the BB token itself?
For baby stakers, the risks are more in line with the typical risks you see with proof-of-stake systems generally.
Like what?
They face potential slashing penalties if their chosen validators on the Comet BFT consensus layer engage in double signing of blocks, or if those validators become inactive for too long, go offline.
Okay, standard validator risks. Double signing or downtime?
Yeah, these are pretty standard considerations for anyone participating in POS networks. Nothing too unusual there.
Standard POS-related risks, then. What about the tokenomics and the initial distribution of PETO? Are there any potential concerns to be aware of there?
Well, the data from around the time of the Binance listing indicated a day one circulating supply of about 22.9% of the total token supply.
Okay, nearly 23% circulating day one.
Yeah, but the estimated day one real float, meaning the tokens that were actually freely circulating and available for public trading, was significantly lower, estimated at around 7.06%.
Oh, only 7% actually being traded freely at first. That's a big difference.
It is. This figure includes the tokens allocated to the retail airdrop participants, which is about 4.90%. And the portions controlled by institutional investors and the project itself, with the market maker holding an initial inflation allocation of around 2.16%.
I see. So a lot of the circulating supply wasn't necessarily hitting the open market immediately.
Exactly. And this disparity between the total circulating supply and the freely available float could potentially lead to increased price volatility in the early trading period. Just something to be aware of.
That's an important point for anyone looking at the baby token in the short term. The difference between the total unlocked supply and what's likely to be actively traded could cause some bumps.
And you mentioned an airdrop targeting various groups.
Yes, the airdrop distribution was designed to incentivize early adoption and community engagement. It targeted several key groups, including folks who actively participated in the initial stake participation programs, holders of their Pioneer Pass NFTs, and also recognized developers who've contributed to relevant open source projects on GitHub.
Okay, rewarding early supporters and builders.
Pretty standard practice. And a final risk mentioned was just a disclaimer regarding potential liquidity pool adjustments before trading officially starts.
Correct. Yeah, that's a standard disclaimer in the crypto space. Just reminding participants that the initial liquidity situation on exchanges could be dynamic and subject to change in the very early stages of trading. Nothing too alarming, just standard procedure.
Okay, so summing up the risks. Some typical smart contract and staking-related risks tied to provider and validator performance, plus some nuances around the initial token distribution that could lead to early market volatility. Overall, it seems like a project with significant potential, but, like all innovative ventures, one that carries its own set of risks.
That sounds like a fair assessment.
So as we bring this deep dive to a close, what are the most important key takeaways that our listeners should remember about the Babylon protocol? What's the elevator pitch? basically?
Okay, the core concept to grasp is that the Babylon Protocol represents a really innovative approach to leveraging Bitcoin's immense capital and security.
Using Bitcoin for more.
Right. By enabling Bitcoin holders to stake their BTC and provide a security backbone for other blockchain networks, those BSNs, Babylon aims to unlock significant new utility for Bitcoin, moving it beyond its primary role as just a store of value or maybe a medium of exchange.
Okay.
And Babylon Genesis, as the very first Bitcoin-secured network, is a critical first step. It acts as both a highly secure Layer 1 blockchain in its own right and as that central hub for coordinating security and managing Bitcoin liquidity for the broader ecosystem of BSNs.
And this has the potential to create a kind of win-win situation, right? Both for Bitcoin holders who can finally earn some yield on their staked assets.
Yeah, potentially significant rewards.
And for the wider decentralized ecosystem, which gains access to a more secure and trustless source of Bitcoin liquidity and security without relying so much on those shaky bridges.
Exactly. By creating these fundamental Bitcoin liquidity primitives directly within a Bitcoin-secured environment, Babylon is aiming to reduce the reliance on potentially more vulnerable bridging solutions and foster a more interconnected and ultimately maybe more resilient landscape for decentralized applications.
So here's a final thought then. With Bitcoin's unparalleled security potentially underpinning a growing number of other blockchains, are we maybe on the cusp of a new era? An era of interconnected and significantly more robust decentralized networks?
That's a really compelling question to chew on, isn't it? Babylon certainly presents a powerful vision for a future where Bitcoin's foundational security can be leveraged to strengthen the entire decentralized ecosystem. It'll be absolutely fascinating to observe how their phase rollout unfolds and how these strategic partnerships and integrations continue to evolve. A lot to watch.
Absolutely. For those of you listening who want to explore this further, maybe dig deeper, we strongly encourage you to check out the Bitcoin staking dashboard. You can see the real-time data on how much Bitcoin is being staked.
Yeah, that dashboard is pretty cool.
Also, dive into their technical documentation for a much more detailed understanding of how it all works under the hood.
If you're technically inclined, definitely worth a read.
And of course, follow their social media channels, places like Twitter, Medium, Telegram, GitHub, to stay up to date with the very latest developments and announcements from the team.
Yeah, keeping up is key in this space. Things move fast.